Hello everyone. We're almost at 8,000 subscribers. I'd like to thank everybody. Appreciate that. This is part 16 of 3D printed creature, part 16. So you might notice my voice is a little different. I've had the flu and cold and high fever, and also we've had a severe winter storm and ice storm in the south. So when we have that here, everything's shut down, even doctor's offices are. So I've been dealing with that, and I've been trying my best to get back into this creature, and I'll show you what I've done. Now what I'm doing is I'm making linkages and the final adjustments to the lips, and you see me adding these little extensions to the front tips. And what that's going to be for is when the core is made, those parts will be visible. And then that would be a socket for when it's made into the silicone skin, and that will pop in place and hold better. Even though I'll probably use some silicone adhesive also, but that way it'll lock in on that lip. So what I usually do here is I'll just copy that one side and just mirror it, add it to the other side, and then I'll go inside here and I'll clean up any other artifacts that will show up as an error if you don't clean them up. And that's what I've been doing a lot for the past few days when, I'm glad our electricity didn't go out, but I was able to finish up all these prints. When I'm designing these linkages, like if you notice that this fork is at an angle to where it's up, and this would be considered fully extended, and you'll see me later move the servo arm back to indicate that it's being pulled back. So I have to adjust that servo arm in the back position. But as you see here, I just pretty much copy another linkage, and that way I'll just remove its component, and then I can just manipulate this same piece by stretching it, or just making it the size that I need. And I think in the previous, it might have been 2 videos back, where I actually did the linkage arm for the single upper lip and the middle one there. So it's already been kind of designed. I just had to finish it up. But as you see here, I moved that arm, and now I'm just adjusting it, because technically the way this fork lip is up, it's open fully. Now we'll need to make adjustments to the servo when we have it loaded up in the servo controller as far as the stop. When we open and close the so-called lips, we'll understand how much degree of the servo arm we can create a stop to where it don't overextend it and break something. And also that even though I haven't mounted to the end of each arm, it doesn't mean that I can make adjustments also that to make those arms shorter. But it's just part of it, and this is the planning. And for the ones that are new to this, the best way to set this up, everybody would need a radio, an RC radio, and and I've showed pictures on the so-called community that you can see some of the radios may recommend, you know, uh, on what to get, because when we set up these servos, you know, I use an RC radio just to set up all my servo movements before I put it on to a servo controller. And some of these arms, I'm trying to get it maybe 2.5, 3 millimeters thickness. I want something a little stronger. You know, this is PLA, but like if you see here on this, this is the jaw movement servo. And, I pull all these out in floating space. They're accurate to what I have already. That way I can just get rid of all the other stuff. I can do it by just doing another component on there. But, after you get like 35 megs of information on a CAD program, it gets kind of iffy, as far as, with my computer it does. But if you see here, I'm kind of lined up to where I'm going to do this, where I'm going to add a so-called standoff, and that way I can stretch it to meet the so-called servo arm, and that will be mounted on the inside of the servo arm. If you notice that some of these are blue color or purple, these are the ones that I've checked to where made sure that they're error free and they're ready to print. And then what I do is I check all the other ones in NetFab, and they'll tell me if they have errors. Then I have to go in there and individually fix them so they'll be able to print. So as you see here, all of these are ready to print. Now this is 24 parts, and this is for the head itself. Now I have two more things I'm wanting to design, and that's a servo socket and these servo horns that I'm making longer to where I'm actually making a servo horn for a servo. That way it will be extended length so we can make this head move up higher. And this is the round servo horn that it's going to be replaced. Now this arm right here is not going to be long enough to make the head go up high enough for, to look up or look down. It's not going to be high enough. So I'm going to adjust this to where I'm going to make this so-called servo arm longer by taking this round servo horn, and we're going to make an inlay to where that will fit in there, and it will be uh, secured with two, probably I'm shooting for 3 millimeter screws. So they'll go through that and hold it in place. Now this servo socket area, and this is the thing that I'm working out on, because this is going to have to rotate with the head. So when the head turns left and right, this will also move left, right. So that means anything like the chest piece, all this needs to be clear. So we needed to make adjustments because these servos are bigger than the so-called wing servos. But as you see here, I pulled it back, but if I pulled it forward, it's going to rotate like so. But the other dilemma is when it tilts up, it's going to be great. But when it tilts down, it could bump the jaw, or the jaw couldn't open because those arms are in the way. Or the linkage would be in the way. But I'm shooting to put them in the back, but I'm happy with this, and it's going to keep the cost down because as far as the servos, I mean, these are like $11 servos, where the other ones are on up there like $30 a piece. But as you see here, here's the prints. But the only thing on my new printer, now this is the new printer that I'm using. I got all the prints done, but my whole design was 3.2 millimeters. But when I put a 3 millimeter screw in there, it should go through. According to my older printer, it worked great. But now these are like trying to tweak the so-called profile. But I'm just still kind of tinkering with this new printer. It works great, but I'm over quality over speed. But Once again, thanks everybody. I hope y'all enjoy this content. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the likes and the comments. Please share. Thanks a lot. Y'all have a good day. Later.